Welcome to Celestial Zodiac. Today we are going to talk about what the moon means as it passes through each sign. The moon is the heartbeat of astrology, the celestial body that moves the fastest and the one we feel the most. While the sun defines our identity, who we are at our core, the moon reveals how we feel, how we react, and what we need to feel safe and loved. Every 2.5 days, the moon slips into a new zodiac sign, painting the sky with a different emotional color. In just 1 month, it journeys through all 12 signs, stirring our moods, instincts, and collective energy along the way. In this video, we'll explore what happens when the moon moves through each sign, how it affects your emotions, your body, and the world around you. Understanding the moon's movement matters because it's like understanding the tides within yourself. By tracking where the moon is, you can anticipate emotional highs and lows, bursts of energy, or the need to retreat and recharge. The sun may guide our path, but the moon tells us how that path feels. When you know its rhythm, you stop fighting your emotions and start flowing with them. Here's how to use this video. We'll travel through all 12 zodiac signs and explore what happens when the moon passes through each one. For every sign, you'll learn about the emotional themes, which is what you may feel or sense when the moon passes through that zodiac sign. Then we move on to the collective mood. The collective mood is the common emotional atmosphere we all share when the moon passes through a certain sign, regardless of their personal birth chart. Think of it as the weather of human emotion. Just like a cloudy day can make everyone feel a little slower, the moon's sign sets an emotional tone that colors how people act, respond, and connect, even if your personal sign is different. That's why tracking the moon's movement is so powerful. It helps you understand not only your own feelings, but the emotional rhythm of the world around you. The moon's connection to timing comes from thousands of years ago, when people noticed that everything on Earth seemed to move in rhythm with the moon. They saw that the tides rose and fell with its phases, crops grew better when planted under certain lunar conditions, and even people's moods, sleep, and energy shifted throughout the month. Over time, astrologers refined these correlations over centuries through pattern recognition, observing cause and effect between lunar movements and human behavior. This is part of what we now call lunar astrology, the art of timing actions with the moon's cycles. Even if you don't believe the moon causes these effects, tracking it often lines up with emotional and energetic rhythms that make perfect sense symbolically. Next, we talk about how the moon in each sign influences the body and mind. For thousands of years, people thought that because the human body is mostly water, the same force powerful enough to create ocean tides could also subtly influence the body's inner tides, such as fluid balance, hormones, and sleep cycles. Modern science supports parts of that idea. The moon's light, for example, can affect circadian rhythms and melatonin levels, influencing how well we sleep and how alert or emotional we feel. Hospitals and emergency rooms have even reported small spikes in activity around full moons, though researchers still debate why. In astrology, each zodiac sign is said to rule a particular part of the body. For example, Aries rules the head, Taurus rules the throat, and so on. So when the moon travels through a sign, that area is thought to become more sensitive or active. Energetically, the moon represents change and response. It governs moods, instincts, and cycles which show up in both the body and the mind. For example, you might feel more restless under a fiery Aries moon. So whether you see it through a biological lens, a symbolic one, or both, the moon reminds us that we're living beings connected to cycles much larger than ourselves. The last part we talk about with the moon in each sign is when the moon opposes a sign. This means the opposite sign's influence while the moon is in that zodiac sign. Each sign has a natural counterpart 180 degrees directly across the zodiac wheel. For example, the opposite of Aries is Libra. The opposite sign of Taurus is Scorpio. When the moon is in one sign, it naturally highlights the energy of its opposite. In astrology, oppositions are not conflicts. They're invitations to balance. When you feel emotional tension during a moon transit, it often means both sides of that polarity are asking for attention. For instance, when the moon is in Aries, you might feel driven to assert yourself. But the opposite sign, Libra, reminds you to stay connected and fair. So as we move through each sign, I'll also mention its opposite, to help you understand the full emotional spectrum the moon is working with at that time. You can listen straight through to understand the full lunar cycle or skip to your sign. Let's begin with fiery Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. When the moon moves into Aries, the emotional temperature rises. Feelings come fast and fierce, honest, passionate, and unfiltered. There's a craving for independence and quick action. Collectively, people become more direct. The world moves faster. There's more competition, but also more courage. The mood is bold, sometimes impulsive, sometimes heroic. This is an excellent time to start new projects, take initiative, or get physically active. But it's not ideal for delicate negotiations or anything that requires patience. Aries rules the head, so headaches or bursts of adrenaline are common now. Deep breathing, exercise, and grounding help balance the rush. When the moon is opposite in Libra, it reminds fiery Aries that passion needs partnership, and that assertiveness must coexist with cooperation. When the moon moves into Taurus, everything slows down. The energy turns calm, steady, and sensual. There's comfort in routine, food, music, and touch. People crave security and simplicity. Collectively, the world feels quieter, more patient, and a little more stubborn. Everyone wants stability, and there's a stronger appreciation for beauty and nature. This is a great time for cooking, gardening, organizing finances, or doing anything that builds long-term peace. The challenge comes when the Taurus moon resists change. Sometimes comfort can become complacency. Taurus rules the throat and neck, so this is a good time to hydrate and rest your voice. Gentle stretching helps release stored tension. When the moon is opposite in Scorpio, emotions deepen. Intensity replaces calm, and we're asked to move beyond comfort and face transformation. When the moon is in Gemini, emotions become quick, curious, and ever-changing. Feelings are processed through thought and conversation. You might find yourself needing to talk, write, or share ideas just to feel balanced. The collective mood is social and lively. People reach out, multitask, and exchange information rapidly. It's a good time for learning, communication, and connecting the dots between people and ideas. However, focus may scatter, and gossip or anxiety can surface if the mind becomes overstimulated. Gemini rules the lungs, arms, and hands, so movement, stretching, and deep breathing help release restlessness. When the moon opposes in Sagittarius, it asks you to balance logic with belief, to blend details with vision and intellect with faith. When the moon moves home into Cancer, emotions run deep. This is the moon's natural domain, sensitive, nurturing, and intuitive. You might feel pulled toward home, family, or familiar surroundings. It's a time to recharge emotionally, reflect, and care for yourself and others. The collective mood becomes protective and sentimental. People seek safety and closeness, but can also become moody or withdrawn if they feel misunderstood. This is an ideal time for cooking, journaling, or connecting with loved ones. Cancer rules the stomach and chest, so comfort food, warm baths, and emotional release are all healing now. When the moon opposes in Capricorn, The balance shifts between feeling and function, between nurturing and achieving, reminding us that emotional security and material structure must work hand in hand. When the moon moves into Leo, the heart takes center stage. Emotions become bold, expressive, and radiant. There's a craving to be seen, to create, and to celebrate life in full color. You might feel a surge of confidence or the need to lead, inspire, or simply bask in joy. Collectively, people become more animated and warm-hearted. The mood is playful, dramatic, and creative, perfect for social gatherings, performances, and moments that invite laughter and connection. The world feels like a stage, and everyone wants their moment under the spotlight. This is an ideal time for artistic expression, self-promotion, or any activity that requires courage and charisma. Whether you're dancing, designing, or speaking from the heart, Leo moon energy reminds you that joy is a form of power. But ego can flare up easily. The need for validation can overshadow genuine connection. Balance pride with humility, and remember that generosity and praise go both ways. Leo rules the heart, spine, and upper back. These areas respond well to warmth, movement, and open posture. Dancing, yoga, or simply walking with your shoulders back helps release this fiery energy in healthy ways. When the moon is opposite in Aquarius, it challenges Leo to share the spotlight, to pair individual brilliance with collective purpose, and to let love shine not just for attention but for inspiration. When the moon enters Virgo, emotions seek clarity and order. There's a deep need to understand, improve, and refine, both within and around you. The atmosphere feels practical, detail-oriented, and quietly determined to make life run smoother. Collectively, people become service-minded and observant. The world feels more focused and discerning. Tasks that require organization, research, or attention to small details flow easily under this influence. This is a perfect time for planning, analyzing, and setting healthy routines. Emotionally, Virgo moons bring a grounded calm, but also the risk of overthinking or self-criticism. Feelings can be intellectualized rather than expressed, which sometimes leads to tension or worry. Perfectionism may creep in, so it's important to remember that progress matters more than flawlessness. This is a good period for decluttering, caring for your health, or organizing your environment. Virgo rules the digestive system, intestines, and nervous system, meaning what you eat, think, and absorb all matter more now. Simple meals, hydration, and mindfulness practices help restore balance. When the moon opposes in Pisces, it invites Virgo to soften, to balance logic with empathy and order with imagination, reminding us that the heart too has its own kind of intelligence. When the moon moves into Libra, the air fills with grace and the desire for harmony. Emotions seek beauty, balance, and understanding. You might feel drawn toward art, partnership, or simply restoring peace in your surroundings. This is a time when love, fairness, and aesthetics take priority. We're reminded that life feels better when it's well arranged. Collectively, the mood turns sociable and diplomatic. People want to get along, make amends, and create environments where everyone feels seen and valued. It's a wonderful phase for collaboration, romance, and anything that requires tact or aesthetic sense. Artists, mediators, and peacemakers thrive under this energy. This is the perfect time for decorating, socializing, or hosting gatherings that emphasize connection and beauty. However, the Libra moon can make decision-making tricky. With every option weighed equally, hesitation may replace harmony. Libra rules the kidneys, skin, and lower back. Gentle movement, hydration, and music all help this energy inflow. Taking time for self-care through touch, massage, or soothing baths restores both emotional and physical equilibrium. Don't sacrifice your truth for temporary peace. Real harmony comes from clarity, not avoidance. When the moon opposes an Aries, the tension between we and me comes to light. Libra teaches us that cooperation doesn't mean losing ourselves. True balance is found when independence and intimacy coexist. When the moon enters Scorpio, emotions intensify. This is a time of passion, mystery, and transformation. Feelings are private but powerful, raw, magnetic, and deeply truthful. You may feel more intuitive, protective, or drawn to uncover what's hidden beneath the surface. Nothing feels casual now. Every emotion demands depth and meaning. Collectively, the atmosphere thickens. People crave authenticity and soul-level connection. Conversations turn intimate, secrets emerge, and intuition replaces logic. It's a period of emotional honesty and renewal, where vulnerability can lead to empowerment if we face what we fear instead of suppressing it. This is an excellent time for introspection, therapy, and emotional release. Activities that involve cleansing, organizing, or research thrive under this moon. It's also favorable for ending unhealthy habits or making decisive changes. However, avoid power struggles or emotional manipulation. The same intensity that heals can also hurt when misused. Scorpio rules the reproductive system, bladder, and organs of elimination, fitting for a sign focused on purging and rebirth. Deep breathing, hydration, and meditation support balance, while gentle physical detoxing helps match the emotional clearing. When the moon is opposite in Taurus, it asks Scorpio to ground its passion. The message: transformation doesn't require chaos. Real strength comes from stability, finding peace within change and beauty within vulnerability. When the moon moves into Sagittarius, emotions become lighter, freer, and full of curiosity. The spirit lifts. You crave adventure, wisdom, and open skies. Feelings are honest, bold, and spontaneous, fueled by the desire to understand life's bigger picture. Restlessness grows under this moon, but so does hope. You want to explore, not just the world but the truth behind everything. Collectively, the energy turns optimistic and forward-looking. People speak their minds more freely, laugh louder, and dream bigger. There's a contagious enthusiasm that inspires others to think beyond limits. The atmosphere encourages exploration, whether that means traveling, studying, or expanding your worldview. This is an excellent time for setting long-term goals, planning future projects, or simply seeking fresh experiences. Sagittarius energy supports honesty, teaching, and creative risk-taking, but impulsiveness can lead to overpromising or scattered focus. The key is to balance expansion with follow-through. Sagittarius rules the hips, thighs, and sciatic nerves, parts of the body linked to movement and freedom. Stretching, walking, or dancing helps release excess fire energy and keeps the mood grounded. Nature, laughter, and new scenery are especially therapeutic now. When the moon is opposite in Gemini, it asks Sagittarius to balance broad vision with detail. It's not enough to dream, you must also communicate clearly and listen carefully. Big ideas thrive when grounded in understanding. When the moon enters Capricorn, emotions become grounded, focused, and disciplined. Feelings are steady but restrained, less about display, more about purpose. You may feel a pull toward responsibility, achievement, and long-term stability. Under this moon, emotional satisfaction comes from progress, from knowing you're building something that lasts. Collectively, the mood turns serious, pragmatic, and goal-oriented. People are more reserved but also more reliable. There's a sense of order and quiet determination in the air. The world feels like it's back to business and ambition sharpens. Success, respect, and structure take priority over sentiment. This is an excellent time for setting intentions, managing money, and organizing work or household matters. Capricorn moon energy favors productivity and self-discipline, but it can lean toward emotional detachment if feelings are ignored. Balance achievement with gentleness. The climb to the top is easier when the heart is involved. Capricorn rules the bones, knees, joints, and skin, the body's framework and support system. Stretching, posture work, and adequate rest help you stay strong. Hydration and warmth are especially important, as this energy can feel dry or rigid if neglected. When the moon is opposite in Cancer, it reminds us that achievement without emotional nourishment leads to emptiness. Capricorn teaches that true success comes when we honor both structure and soul, building not just for the future but for the heart's contentment too. When the moon moves into Aquarius, emotions turn cool, curious, and unconventional. Feelings are processed through ideas, not instincts. There's a pull toward understanding rather than reacting. You might crave independence, innovation, or a cause that connects you to something larger than yourself. The heart wants freedom to think, feel, and exist without boundaries. Collectively, the atmosphere becomes social yet detached. People are more open to new perspectives, technology, and community. There's a sense of collective awakening. Everyone feels the urge to break routines, experiment, and embrace individuality. The focus shifts from personal emotion to shared progress. This is an ideal time for group projects, brainstorming sessions, and social movements. The Aquarius moon favors invention, reform, and intellectual exploration. However, emotions can be overlooked in the pursuit of logic. Make space for empathy alongside analysis. Compassion gives your vision humanity. Aquarius rules circulation, the ankles, and the nervous system, the body's channels of flow and movement. Gentle exercise, dancing, and creative thinking all help release tension and keep energy balanced. Staying hydrated and maintaining warmth prevents feeling scattered or disconnected. When the moon is opposite in Leo, it calls for balance between mind and heart, between the collective and the individual. Aquarius teaches that progress isn't just about new ideas. It's about caring enough to make those ideas meaningful for everyone. When the moon drifts into Pisces, emotions become fluid, intuitive, and deeply compassionate. Boundaries blur and imagination takes the lead. You might feel more sensitive, artistic, or empathetic, tuned into emotions that aren't even your own. This moon heightens psychic awareness and creativity but can also make it harder to stay grounded. Collectively, the mood turns gentle, dreamy, and forgiving. People are more open-hearted, inspired by music, beauty, and spiritual connection. It's a time when compassion outweighs competition, and the veil between the seen and unseen feels thinner. Dreams and synchronicities often carry messages now if you take time to listen. This is an ideal period for rest, reflection, and creativity. Pisces energy favors meditation, art, journaling, and any activity that nurtures the soul. However, it can also bring confusion or emotional overwhelm if too much is absorbed from others. Balance empathy with boundaries. Caring deeply doesn't mean caring everything. Pisces rules the feet, lymphatic system, and fluids of the body, the physical reflections of flow and sensitivity. Gentle movement, grounding exercises, and water rituals help align body and spirit. Music, salt baths, or time near the ocean are especially soothing now. When the moon is opposite in Virgo, it calls for balance between imagination and order. The message: Dreams need structure to come alive, and compassion finds strength through clarity. Pisces teaches that surrender isn't weakness. It's the wisdom to trust the current of life. Each time the moon changes signs, it shifts the emotional tide, subtly altering how we feel, act, and connect with the world around us. These lunar movements remind us that our inner landscape is always in motion, reflecting the cycles of nature itself. Understanding the moon in each sign helps us ride those emotional waves rather than resist them. It teaches us when to act, when to rest, when to release, and when to dream. By noticing these patterns, we align more closely with life's natural rhythm, one that honors both our moods and our growth. No matter where the moon travels, it always returns, just as we do again and again, to the truths of our own hearts. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for our next video about what happens when Mercury enters each sign.